Okay. How am I going? How many things? Oh fuck. Hello. Hello. For some reason I've got StreamYard going and also my live stream going. Connect streaming software. I'm just...
You were cutting out a little bit as well.
Yes, I am. I've never used this before. Where do I put the where do I put the settings? Standard, done. Mute, invite, leave studio. Banners, comments. Oh, fuck. Try key. All right, this is really weird. Where do you put the stream key in? If not, just put it in the chat.
Yeah, just everybody's great with advice. I've been a guest on StreamYard, but I've never actually done it myself, so I have no idea.
All right, invite. Having issues. Yes, I am having student issues.
Right, it's just come up as a notification on my phone that we are actually live now.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we are currently live on YouTube?
Yes.
Are we live on YouTube?
Right. I think you're right. I think we do have, there's a bit of lag, but I think you're right. There is 2 different links because the one on my YouTube desktop isn't playing, but we are definitely going on the other one.
Right. Okay. Okay. Can you send me a link to...
Yep.
Okay. All right.
Oh, this is so funny.
Okay. Guys, it's another link because YouTube, because I'm not nerding very well today. All right, awesome. Okay, this is annoying, but all right, so that's the new link apparently.
Yeah.
Okay, why do they make things conveniently convenient? That's good. All right, hi everyone. I'm just going to send the link over to the other. Okay. Hi, sorry everyone about that. So I'm just... All right, it's good to see. I'm looking at the other thing. All right, it's good to see that Tria says that I found out the other minute before a stream the other night that StreamYard actually goes straight to your YouTube channel because, yes, okay. All right, how many people are currently... Hi, everyone. Sorry about that. Hi. Godless Virus says, just setting up stream nowadays is broken. Yes, pretty much. Hang on, I'm just going to plug in my phone because it's going to die. Hang on. There we go. Hi, everybody. Okay, so now that we've had that disastered, welcome to my channel. So the other day on the tweets, there was a person who decided to put some pretty incredible stuff on Twitter, and not that that's actually all that incredible. Their name, initially I was like, I don't really want to say this person's name, but eventually we were going to inevitably accidentally say it, so I may as well just get it over and done with. Her name was Susanna a little something, wasn't it? Hang on, might be in a good idea.
Susanna Loney, which makes it sound like it's not a real name.
Well, as a true skeptic, I went, this person doesn't sound like a real person. So I went and Googled that name, and you better not. But the reason why the lovely topic Thunder and I here are talking about it is because there's a whole heap of things that we thought to ourselves that we need to address. So a lot of misogyny, misandry, toxic masculinity. And so, yeah, we decided to talk about this. But first of all, may you introduce yourself, the lovely topic Thunder.
Hello. I'm known as Kelly. Back when I started my channel, I giggled at the thought of my name. Thought, oh yeah, sounds kind of cool. I didn't realize actually people would actually be saying it back to me. So I'm wondering, how nerdy does it sound? Should I pick something cooler, like Captain Fantastic or something? I don't know. But to hear it said back to me is pretty surreal.
It is. Yeah, Topic Thunder is a freaking awesome name, but it's very close to Tropic Thunder, which
I've never heard that before. Have you had trouble finding my channel?
I have. I even put it in the quotation marks. So it's a bit,
Quick, I promise. You just put Topic Thunder and it says, do you mean Tropic Thunder? And then you put the thing next to it and then you find me.
Yes. You're pretty easy to find when it says, do you mean Topic Thunder?
Yeah.
So
I know.
Anyway. Yeah, it is a cool name. Osman, sorry, Osman. He says, go with nerd, Topic Thunder, keep it. So Navadia has problems with R. Well, that's true. Critical Cripple says that I have problems with R's because a lot of people spell my my name as Navadia, not Navadia.
Right.
Yeah. So you need a lot of people accidentally miss the second R in my name. Yeah, I'm going to.
It's very unique. So there's not going to be that many like yours, whereas mine sort of matches up with a 10-year-old film. So
yeah. Okay, so my computer's not strong enough to be able to run OBS, so I'm going to be doing a lot of share screening. So did you find any interesting and not so interesting tweets that this person, so maybe we should have a quick chat about who this person initially is?
Well, I can't say that I've come across this. I say this person because it's got what looks like a woman as the profile picture. So, and of course with the name. So that's the only assumptions you can make beyond that. We don't know who this is. But she's only recently popped up, and I understand like the connection you made to me about Laurie Alexander, but I think this person is likely more trolling than Laurie. Laurie actually believes what she says. But there's something about the grammar and the sentence structure and just the way this person is expressing things that I think either when I went to the account, there weren't that many followers. So I'm assuming that's, sign for troll. I only just came up in my sort of field of view, as it were.
Yeah, because initially we were going to do a Laurie Alexander video, and then life got the better of both of us. So
prolific that every week we create something.
Pretty much, yeah. Because I did one on her with on the polygamy thing, and like the following week she's like, "Should we go topless?" And I'm like, "Damn it!"
Like I said, she's a gift that keeps on giving, almost.
She really is. So this person, if I can find them again, Susanna Aloni. So Susanna Aloni. So I will screen share myself. Actually, I might do this. So I'll screen share myself, and so everyone can look at what I'm showing. So this is what she looks like. Part of the reason why I think she is not real is because I, one, couldn't find her name outside of Twitter. Two, she's quite young and quite beautiful and clearly very millennial. And not that I'm saying that millennials can't have this way of thinking, but also her pinned tweet that she put up 5 hours ago, she said, they'd say, "I'd like to thank every single stupid person for following me, every single lonely man for their thousands of DMs, every uneducated female that slandered and insulted my intelligence. Now I'll be deleting my entertaining tweets, and I kindly request all women to unfollow me." So I thought that was a fairly interesting thing. Did anybody just see what I put up? Because it came up with screen sharing tips. And no, you did not. Share screen. Okay, I'll go back. Okay, share that. All right. So, all right, going back up. So that's what she looks like. She's got a fairly pretty picture, everything's all pretty, but the hatred and disgusting attitudes that she has towards people, such as this tweet right here, kind of shows how, hang on. Sorry, everyone. And stop sharing. So that shows everyone how, discussing what some of her attitudes are. So were there any tweets that jumped out at you initially, Kelly?
Well, oh Christ.
All of them?
Yeah, there's so much to choose from. I think when you initially shared me the link, I thought, here we go. Here's another Laurie Alexander. But I think I have no regret with putting my man on a pedestal and greeting him on my knees. He is worth my respect. Problem is, American women are so ungrateful for their men that clearly their marriages suffer. Don't know why she's picking on American women. I'm sure there's, according to her, some pretty awful British women as well. But I think it's hard. It's really scary when you can't tell if somebody's trolling now. It's hard to make the distinction, isn't it, sometimes? But the fact that, there's so many issues with what she said. There's no reason to belittle yourself or subjugate yourself in order to give somebody else respect. And this person it's not even about youth or anything like that, but you learn that pretty early on about respect. That you don't have to, respect is earned, so somebody has to earn it. You respect your parents, but they can still piss you off.
That is true.
Exactly. It's one of those things that it's not just a given sort of thing. They haven't expressed whether or not they're religious, at least in the tweets I've seen. That makes me wonder, because I think that sometimes has for some people an all or nothing thing when it comes to the matrimonial home and things like that. But what sort of disappointed me was the fact that I understand sociology to be one of those fields of study where very little answers are gleaned. It's just as much as I know of it. But even if we were to come to a conclusion that, yes, society is better on the whole if the woman stayed at home, did all these traditionally womanly things, the man did all the traditionally male things, that's still the oppression of one over the other, and the decision making of that oppression comes from one side to the other. And I'm not a huge history buff, but whenever one group has attempted to oppress another, it's never gone well.
No, generally not. From what I understand, yeah.
Yeah.
For me, I don't really have a lot of knowledge in the sociology point of view, because my expertise is more in chemistry and that sort of shit. But with this image, what she's going is, I have no regret with putting my man on a pedestal and greeting him on my knees. Well, first of all, okay, you've met a guy that's worth your respect, but
yeah, but that's to them.
Yeah, that's to them. There's like
that bother me.
And this sort of thing, even though again this is clearly a troll account, this attitude is not unheard of in the religious area. Like, you know, as we keep talking about Laurie Alexander, and so this sort of account again, troll account. None of this actually happens in a vacuum. So when people read this and see this, there are going to be some people who don't actually recognize this is, you know, clearly a person being a troll, and they actually will take this stuff to heart. So it is actually, even though clearly a troll account, it is still dangerous. It is still very, very dangerous.
Yeah. But I think it can be one of those things that confirms what you already believe. So of course you're going to retweet, you're going to comment, you're going to stand up for this person when people call them a troll. Because I don't like the idea that just because somebody else says something you don't like, they're automatically a troll. But it's the nature of a troll is usually easy to ascertain that it is a troll because they're overgeneralizing. Usually they're throwing out blanket statements that should apply to everyone, as if they have some sort of, you know, they're the arbiter of what other people think and how other people should think. If they really wanted, the way that this person is expressing is, it's almost like they're trying to remind you of your place and trying to educate. They're not using the right language. They're not using the right way to go about it. You can say this for Laurie Alexander, that she at least comes across, I suppose it is kind of preachy, but she's compelling people rather than you should do this, you should do that. I might be wrong. There's some tweets that are a little bit more, you know, forceful, but I think on the whole, she's sort of like, don't you understand? This is what you should be doing. You know, if you do it this way, then, you know, you're going to suffer. Your family's going to suffer. Whereas this person's more like, I will get on my knees. 'Tis my duty in life, sort of thing. It's so bold that you're just thinking, I don't know if this is, you know, really what they're trying to get across. So if anything, it's probably the fact that their tweets are so over the top that hopefully they won't have as much effect as somebody who's Laurie Alexander, who's nice lady, seems sweet enough, obviously has a real issue in other areas, but do you know what I mean? She has this sort of this nurturing way about her, in a sense, which you could consider more dangerous because she's likely to convince more people. And when you see the comments of people on her channel, when you go to her videos, you know, they're saying things like, oh, thank you, you're so right. And, oh, you've got all these little pictures of lovely ladies with their families and things like that. Again, you can't tell much from a profile picture, but, you know, she's got a following and they hang on her every word. So when somebody is a charming educator and somebody who can sort of put across a dangerous idea, but in a way that appeals to people, that's when you've got an issue. And that's why I think trolls do tend to burn out. They're just so over the top and just designed to make people annoyed. And then you get annoyed and then you're like, you know, but Laura Alexander is a bit more dangerous. Comparatively.
Yeah. I agree. So do you want to go to the next one?
Yes. Oh,
which is who said that one's, this is the one that I picked up. So who said stay at home? Submissive as in relationship. Career is your own choice. To be submissive to a man is the greatest reward for a woman. So I think we kind of went over that reasonably well. Yeah. So all right. So I think we went over that reasonably well. So who said stay at home? But career is a really important choice. Nowadays, we can't afford to have women and a man not working. It's part of our society. Unless you find a man who can actually afford to give you his can afford to give you. Can you see me sharing my screen?
Nothing's coming up as yet.
Okay, well, I'm going to not share my screen anymore because it's too complicated. That, and obviously there is a risk of showing things that I don't want to be seen. Not that I not that I would find anything, but there's that risk of sharing my screen. If I had a second screen, that would be easier. Anyway, that's what some of the issues that I'm having that I have with Laurie Alexander is that she absolutely hates the idea of a woman being educated and having their own career. And this is, again, something that is often touted within the entirety of religious organizations. They want to make a woman stupid. Not stupid, but uneducated. And being uneducated means that being uneducated traps a woman or a man at the same time. So if a woman is more educated than a man, there is that power dynamic, and that's very open to abuse. So video pirate Navadi is hiding her internet porn.
You lot are filthy. I love it.
Well, actually, to be honest with you, and I don't think anyone's going to believe me, but this is the absolute truth. I have never actually actively gone and found porn. Any porn that I have ever seen has been shoved in my face from outside. I've never actually gone out and looked for porn myself. So I'm pretty sure no one believes me on that one, but it is the truth. Sound of Azure says it's harder to get out if you are uneducated. That is true. So if a woman is uneducated or a man is uneducated, it is very, very, very difficult for them to leave well, not very, very difficult. It's just more difficult to leave an abusive relationship. So what was that? Sorry? What was that?
When you don't have this an economic fallback, if you're completely reliant on them, absolutely.
Yeah. And grumpy old Dave, it's only photos of Nutshell wearing his own tights.
We're talking about something serious, everyone.
But so career is important. I'm glad at least they said career is your own choice. To be submissive to a man is the greatest reward for a woman. So no, absolutely freaking not. No way. What was that? Sorry?
Multiple orgasms are.
That is true. That is true.
Now it's no going back.
Yeah, actually, that kind of reminds me of a joke. Okay, going off topic. I just need to tell this joke while it's in my head. So God in the Garden of Eden decided to give out all of the things for all the animals, and he goes to Adam and Eve. I've got two things that I need to give out. So who wants the ability to stand up while peeing? And Adam goes, oh, me. And he just runs around. He starts pissing all over things, like pissing on the trees and pissing on the rocks, pissed on the tiger, went up, pissed on God, and having a great time, pissing on everything, standing up. And here's Eve just looking really, really devastated. And then God turns to her and he goes, well, I bet you get the multiple orgasms.
Oh my God. Well, it's the least he could do.
Exactly.
So long. Oh,
anyway, back to this to the subject. So to be submissive to a man is the greatest reward for a woman. I would say being equal to a man is the greatest reward to a woman, unless, of course, this woman wants to be submissive. I mean, we don't kink shame. And well, grumpy old Dave said that exactly. There are women who disagree with you, as there are men who believe that being submissive to a woman is their greatest reward. So it's whatever floats your boat. Again, this is coming back to something that people actually genuinely believe, which kind of makes me go, but that's just me. But to have the respect of the person that you were going to spend the rest of your life with needs to be given. You need to be given and receive and to give back that respect. Critical says being equal is not a reward. Yeah, it should be a default, and it is nowadays in our life at the moment. It's the default, and all, regardless of who you are or what you are, all relationships have a power dynamic for multiple areas. So, you know, for example, you know, the woman might be more financially independent than the male, but the male might be more intelligent in one way than the female, and it all depends on how things work in the household. Not being so there's power dynamics in every relationship, but forcing yourself to be completely submissive in all things is just dangerous and opens you up to a world of hurt.
Absolutely. Well, it can cause so many other issues. I mean, aside from the fact that every relationship is different, every human being is different, there are times where I'll need to, be supported by my husband emotionally, financially, whatever. And there are times where that's what the balance is all about. If one has one over the other, then not only does this person suffer, whether it's the male or female, but the other one surely does. Like the whole idea of, the man having to be the strong one and the woman being meek. What happens when the man needs to be meek or has, suffering? But he's sort of got this idea in his head that he has to be the strong one. And that's why we have such a problem with male mental illness. In the UK, suicide is rife for men because they feel like they can't talk about it. So it don't get me wrong. I mean, submission or the subjugation of women is awful, and I'm standing up for it. But that's what makes me an egalitarian, is that we live in a world with men and women, and we need to work together. There's no reason that one should be over the other. We've got our strengths, we've got our weaknesses. Let's sort of work together. But I think, and I've been thinking about this a lot because I've been sort of reading up on a little bit of feminism and stuff, and I agree. Well, it's first wave, second wave, third wave's gone a bit wacky.
That is true. That is true.
Because again, they're saying, let's push this sex down, and that's not feminism to me. That's it's our time. You can go in the shadows. No, because you've got an entire generation of men that quite rightly will take offense and umbrage to that. So it's almost like you do have a generation of men that have come up. Let's just say so I know we can go back all the way to the vote and everything, but say the 60s onwards, that have been brought up in a different environment where it was changing, and mums and just women in general were getting more rights, and it's still progressing, but it's, there's a whole generation of people that have grown up with that. And I think the backlash, the sort of the misogyny from that, is that they're just caught in that time frame. 50 years from now, it'll seem like that's the way it's always been. But it's not been that long for us that we've had such freedoms. So of course we're going to say, well, no, for the longest time we were oppressed and put down upon. Sorry you got caught up in the sort of the revolution, as it were. But for social change to happen, sometimes there are teething problems, and there's the problem is now is that with the internet you will get you'll just get pockets of people who think that things should be a certain way, and there's always this weird sort of logical fallacy of like an appeal to tradition. Like when you think about how it was in the past, everybody has rose tinted glasses and says when you think of tradition you think, oh, it should be the way it was. No, because that's not how progression works.
No, and if we were to stick to traditions, because there'd be a lot of weird ass things going on, like
not all of it, almost.
I mean, I suppose we've kept some of the nice traditions, like Easter. Easter's a bit of a nice tradition, but there's some traditions like FGM that is completely
male and female relationships. In tradition, the woman should be staying at home and things like this. The strange thing is, as independent as I am, and I love being a woman, I love, it's going to sound awful, but I love men. I don't want anybody put upon. I judge people on their actions and the consequences of those actions. It doesn't really matter to me. I've known equally wicked women as I've known equally wicked men. So the capacity for cruelty and the capacity for good, there's no difference really between the sexes to me. But and I was going to say something, but yeah, it's more a case of the sort of traditional aspects where I had my daughter. I've got the lower paying job out of my husband, and that is largely through choice. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'd love to have more money, but it's
wouldn't we all?
I work in, you know, and for whatever reason I could have gone further and I haven't. That's my choice, and I'm lucky enough to live in a society, in a country where I could progress if I wanted to. It's not guaranteed that financial rewards will ensue, but I kept myself at a certain level, and I'm fine with that. I'm not somebody who likes the finer things in life, and he's a good earner but not huge, and we're happy, you know. We're happy with that. But I wanted, because I grew up my mum was a single mum. There were 5 of us. It was a struggle. I decided certain things. I didn't even really know if I definitely wanted children until all of a sudden it was like a switch that was flicked. I knew that I wanted to go back to work, but I wanted to be with her in those sort of formative times where she would say her first word and where she would walk, and I wanted to, you know, do all these things with her. I wouldn't begrudge anybody else not doing that, but to me, it was almost that time only comes, you know, for a certain time of their life, if I can, and it means sacrifice. That's what people don't understand. It's not a case of you can have it all. You can have it all, but something will have to give, and you have to make a choice. I earned less money because I was at work less, but you know, the rewards to me were worth it. So it's one of those things where, for me, I definitely just wanted to be around, and I wanted to give her my full attention. It's just one of those things. It's completely personal. Every time somebody has a child or has a family, it's completely personal. Do I think it's strange when people, you know, have a kid or a couple of kids and go straight back to work and then put them with a childminder? Yeah, because I think you're going to miss out. But I'm not going to call them a bad parent for that. I just think, oh, isn't that a shame? And almost like, what's the sort of point, sort of thing, because you're spending all your money on childminding. Gosh, I've gone off on a tangent, really, haven't I? You know what I mean? It's so personal to each and every person. But so I do. I'm living at a time where I have the best of both worlds. I mean, she's gone to big school now, so I can go back to work if I want to, and
which is good.
Exactly, and you know, but there is a space of about 5 years where you're in the UK, at least, where, you know, your economic sort of thing, the structure might change and things like that. But I'm lucky enough to have the grown-up time of being at work in a job that I love, and then I've got time with her. So it's all about choices, and having those choices is the most important thing. And when people speak like this, it harkens back to a time where there really wasn't. And like I said, everybody can look at it with rose-tinted glasses, like you're at home, you're there with a martini waiting for him with his slippers. It wasn't like that. It wasn't the man going out to buy. It was the man, and not all men, but you know, that they in the UK they set up, if I'm remembering my sort of history right, they set up things like child benefit, so that there would be kind of like a welfare system in a sense for low income families, that the money would go directly to the mother in some fashion, and because there was so much issue with men drinking at a certain point that they were worried that if the money went straight to the man, that the children wouldn't get what they needed. So I'll have to definitely look into that, because I think it's more anecdotal stories I've heard. I'm talking about the 50s and the 60s. And it gave women a sense of financial freedom, although it was, you know, like not a stipend, but something like that from the government, because they were completely relying on their husbands. And if their husband had a low-paying job, they were buggered. You know, if anything happened, it's not like, you know, if my husband gets injured, I can go out and get a second job or something like that. They didn't have the options back then, or at least as many. No. So yeah, we don't want to look back, because
no, we definitely do not. Yeah. Okay, so I will bring up the next one. So this is a response to another person who says to her, since you only care about men, what happens to the ones that want a woman who is assertive and their equal? And Susanna Aloni says, no man wants to relinquish control. It's very beta. Well, let's just talk about some toxic masculinity here at the moment. Okay, this is one that I have a huge issue with when it comes to toxic masculinity. Okay, so this person sounds like an incel. So I'm very convinced that this person is actually an incel. I don't know if it's a female incel or a male incel. But when I read that, I thought this is a discussion we need to talk about when it comes to toxic masculinity, because things like this also affect men as well. Women, like feminism, the original feminism was all about equality of the sexes, and there's still quite a few feminists out there who are like that, and I'm one of those too. I am a very strong proponent for male mental health services. I want to see more things on male shelters, like abuse victim shelters, because there are men who do, and people of all genders who do get abused. Because if you are a man in a homosexual relationship and you're being abused, you don't have an opportunity to go to a women's shelter because you are a man, which is complete bullshit. So there's a whole heap of issues, but the idea that men have to be strong, they don't, a man who doesn't want a woman to be his equal is a beta or a beta cock, is an example of this bullshit. So it goes both ways. If I ever came across a guy who wanted me to not be his equal, like wanted me to be his submissive, I would probably tell him to go fuck off. In fact, I have a person in my personal life who really doesn't treat me with respect. And basically the only reason why I continue talking to this person is because they are my workmate and I kind of have to, but I have said, don't you fucking talk to me like that, because their masculinity has been threatened by me, often, because I am a ferocious kind of person who says it like it is. And but at the same, like, oh my goodness, the number of times I've said things to these people, to this group of people, because they're all 60-year-old, 70-year-old men from, way back when. Yeah. What was that?
It's a generational thing, isn't it?
It's a generational thing, definitely. And one of them is Italian. So a 60-year-old Italian man who doesn't actually respect women. Yeah, he doesn't like me.
And I don't know why, because I don't know that many Italian people. But yeah,
it's part of the generational thing. I know that sounds a little bit racist, but I'm one of those people who, I look at you as a person first, but this particular man, and this was told to me by his friends, they go, you just got to understand, this is part of his culture. He is an Italian man. It's definitely part of the culture. And some of the things he's said to me, I've just turned around and told him to fuck off. And he's like, Italian women would like that. I'm like, yeah, congratulations, you're in Australia. Anyway, so
Australian accent. I'm so sorry.
What was that?
I said, fuck off, mate.
That's freaking brilliant. Anyway, so but the thing is, I was going off on a bit of a tangent. her saying that no man wants to relinquish control, it's very beta. That's actually shutting down and diminishing men who want to be equal to women. So not only is that idea of women being less than men, we are also encountering the idea that because women are inherently less than men, if a man wants a woman to be equal to him, he actually has to bring himself down rather than the idea of him bringing her up. And that bothers me. Toxic masculinity has actually taken a huge toll on guys. I will refer to Notjar's collaboration with Osman Kamath about their video on rape as a male, and that was one of the things that they said between the two of them. And I think if you meet a lot of men who have been raped, they will also say, I was upset, I was hurt, but I was told that I could not be because I am a man and I'm not supposed to be emotional. And it was awful. It's awful. And so this is what incels do. This is what incels are all about, is that they are angry and disgustingly angry and have really just outdated, toxic ideas on both women and on women's and men's place in society. So do you have any comments on that? Do you have any comments on toxic masculinity?
I'm very lucky in that, like I said earlier, I've known men and women to act abhorrently and wonderfully. I've got 4 brothers, and we didn't always have the easiest time growing up, but they didn't have a strong male father figure in their life. That's not something I thought about when I was 8 years old, and they were sort of going, but I understand it now, and even they understand that. So it's all experiential, I think, in that sort of sense. I can't speak as to socially, because the men I do know are all quite lovely. At least that's how they've sort of presented themselves to me. My husband is probably the most wonderful person you'll ever meet. So I do wonder sometimes if I should just clone him for the good of time. Or I say to him, you should give seminars, honestly, because he's just a regular guy. When I tell him the sort of stuff that I see online, he's like, really? People really think this way? And he's an example of somebody who, in a way, is traditional in the sense that he wants to support me and things like that, but at the same time has no trouble coming to me in his time of needs. And it makes him, and if you were to see him, there's nothing beta about him. And I don't want to say that there's a specific way an alpha should look or a beta should look, but to me, he's everything a man should be. And that includes being vulnerable, and that includes sort of relying on the person that's supposed to be your connection, your equal. That's the beauty of equality. It's not saying I can't do some of the things he does, either because I've been too lazy and haven't taught myself how to, or I literally don't physically have the strength, or just don't have the interest in doing something. And that's what gives balance. I can do things that he can't do. I don't feel any less of a person. I'm just different, and that's okay. I'm not one of these people that says, like, just because men have a certain level of strength, you can't say that they're stronger than us. Well, physically they are. Scientifically they are. And that's not a bad thing. I love being a woman. But the whole incel sort of thing is the underlying sort of thing is these people obviously have really bad social issues. And for that, I do feel sorry for them. And I don't know how you can go about getting them help and things like that. But whenever you feel a certain way passionately about something, you will obviously have a cognitive dissonance and confirmation bias, and you will actively seek out other people who feel the same. But you will also express blanket statements like this person is. You will seek out statistics and information that sort of feed your narrative. But also, it's a case of, like, if there was, I think they almost talk, and I've actually been on an incel forum just for giggles, just to sort of get an idea of what's going on, and they honestly think, the ones that at least post honestly think that society would be better with these changes that they want to make, and harkening back to a time before. So, and they try to make it sound like it's a political need, like it's a social need, but they're only looking at the information that informs what they already believe. So, would they feel the same way if it was the other way around? And of course they don't, because they can't stand feminists or, more third wave. Because, there's third wave feminists that are just as bad.
There are. I think one of our problems with the third wave feminists is that they take things to the extreme. I think a lot of, like, as I said, I identify as a feminist because I do genuinely believe in equality, and equity as well. So equity
is at work. I'll just proof that, although these gentlemen might be of an older generation, there's proof that they are literally using your sex and likely your age to claim some sort of, a higher ranking or a hierarchy. That's an exact example. So when you say, I've got the problem with this, I can say, oh, that's fine. But when third wave feminists say, oh, men shouldn't be allowed to do this, men shouldn't be allowed to do that, it's like, well, you're literally swapping roles. And that's not what we need to do. We need to get everything like here. Because otherwise, fine, let's say tomorrow somebody flicks a switch and you get everything you want as a third wave feminist, whatever they may be, because I'm sure there's some really crazy ideas. But and then give it 30 years and you see how angry you've made an entire generation of men because you stamp on their rights, like yours are being stamped on. And I think in terms of, sorry to harp on, but when you mentioned earlier about the cultural thing, and it's like, well, there's two issues with that, with the Italian gentleman. Culture is no excuse.
It's very hard to change too.
Exactly.
Very, very hard to change.
Yeah, it is. And you can sort of give a sort of an idea of indoctrination in that sort of sense. If somebody's gone into the world and realized, oh, it works differently here, you need a little bit of time to perhaps get out of that. Some people don't want to change, and that's their issue. But they have to live in a world with other people. But I don't have an issue when people, when with other cultures, they're fascinating. All the side of cultures are fascinating. When something negative occurs, like for example, FGM, which sometimes is seen as a cultural thing, or neck stretching or something like that causes physical harm. You can't sort of deny things. People say, oh no, but it's their culture. And it's like, that is a word. What you're actually doing is causing harm. So it doesn't matter your religion, your culture, what group you're in, what club you join. If you're doing physical and likely psychological harm to people, it breaks down those barriers for me. That those words don't mean anything to me when harm is occurring. So when somebody says, oh, it's just their culture, and they're giving an excuse for somebody else, it's like, well, the entire world has to live with one another. Don't use it as an excuse. Strive to be a better person, or at least learn from other people. Why be around other people if you don't want to sort of, interact? Stay exactly. If you want it that way, then stay where you were. But you don't get to dictate how other people react to your bad behavior.
What was I going to say? I've lost my train of thought. That's what I was going to say. So one of the things that I've seen, I don't know if it's a backlash against feminism or if it's just something that's there and it's just raised its ugly head, is people like Jordan Peterson are really, really good at introducing people into incel movements and the toxic masculinity way of thinking and the hierarchical thing. So for example, his famous lobster thing where he's like, a lobster rearranges its neural center and then therefore it's related to humans or something like that. People like him are probably much more dangerous, in my opinion, than the outright screaming, disgusting incel people that say things like all women deserve to be raped, because Jordan Peterson sounds reasonable. So people read and go, oh, he sounds reasonable, and then it's the beginning of the cult, basically. You go in, you're like, oh, this sounds reasonable, and then after a while you just hear more and more and more and more and more ridiculous stuff. But your threshold for ridiculous stuff is is raised higher and higher, because Jordan Peterson and his ilk are more likely to introduce you into this incel thinking. And someone who is very, very dear to me is actually reading and taking into account all of the stuff that Jordan Peterson is saying. And I'm really, really concerned. And I did actually say to them, look, this is toxic masculinity. You are going to end up being a very, very, very hurt person by the end of it. You might end up becoming an incel. No, this is the beginning of an incel. And they ended up turning around and saying to me, I don't care what you say. I'm going to, I don't care what you say. I think Jordan Peterson is right, and no matter what you say, I will never be convinced against it.
Why aren't people able to, or have the capacity, and this is me overgeneralizing, sorry, but have the capacity to be able to take what you think sounds reasonable from someone and completely dispel with the bullshit? Why so thin? Is it an emotional thing? Do you think he sort of, this came at a time in his life where he needed reassurance or bolstering or something like that?
I think so. I think this person is in a very bad spot in their life. Also, they didn't have a very strong father figure when growing up, and so they're like, oh, I need to somehow find a strong father figure, and they've come on to Jordan Peterson. So people like Jordan Peterson is something that feminism should be attacking. Incels is something that feminism should be attacking, not fucking trans people in bathrooms and TERFs and people like that. That's bullshit. People
almost as bad, aren't they? They're blowing up these really unworkable sort of things that just won't work in society. But when you put your weight and your power behind something, it feels good. It feels good to have a purpose. To me, if a purpose wasn't rational, or if I knew on some level it was either unachievable, it was unreasonable, if it just had no standing but sounded good, I couldn't do it, because I'd have this constant feeling in my chest. I'd have this constant thought in the back of my head, I don't believe this. Other people, they don't care about that. They will get behind, like politicians, they will get behind something that is just ridiculous, but it feels great. And then when you start to get followers and other people agree with you, it's very powerful. It's really intoxicating to then, say, well, I found a group, especially if you're socially awkward, if you found a group that sort of agrees with you, and then suddenly you start to move like a cult and you start to look similar, especially with I hate to say it again, I'm overgeneralizing, but a lot of feminists do tend to, or third wave feminists do tend to go for that sort of brightly colored hair thing. And I love brightly colored hair, but do you see what I mean? You start to sort of morph and become like this hive mind, and the internet really helps that, because you can have your own language, you can have your own forums and things like that. It's a great tool for good, but it really facilitates that kind of cult-like mentality very well. It's almost made for it, I suppose. But for me, the incel cult, like I said earlier, I think a lot of it is down to just psychological issues that stem far beyond whatever they think about women, and they just tend to come along to and some people are just genuinely bad guys. I think some of them are just predators and things like that. But getting back to what you said about Notcha earlier, this whole issue with men, they're either they've got toxic masculinity or they're betas. There's in between. But it really bothers me when people talk about rape as if it's this sort of thing, not only that can be only done from men to women, but nothing to do with the act itself. You could take the fact, you could take the sexual act out of it, and
it's a violation. It's still a violation
of a person's body, much like GBH's. You know, hitting someone in the face is me not wanting to be hit in the face, and somebody taking the choice to do it. That's what it's like to me. The fact that it's usually an act that's a loving act or a passionate act or something that two people come together for. People have a real problem with disassociating those two aspects. Like, the sex is lovely, so they must have wanted it in some level, or they must have been horny and that's why they did it. And it's not. It's more the fact that I'm going to take something from you that you don't want to give me, and I'm going to do it anyway. It's got really not a lot to do, to me, you know, I'm not a psychologist, but to me it's got practically nothing to do with sex, because the idea for me with sex is that I'm not only enjoying it myself, but the other person is enjoying it. I could do sexual things to somebody knowing they weren't enjoying it. And
it's a power thing. It is.
And it baffles me that, you know, that the men don't get as much sort of, if men could be hit, it's the same act. What does it matter if I've got tits? If I punch someone, I still punch someone. The act is the same.
Yeah.
The consequences are the same. And I think women should be judged just as harshly, legally or otherwise, for causing harm. Judges make up their minds about all sorts of weird things, but do you see what I mean? That's what I mean by equality. You know, and the education on either side. You've probably got a lot of third wave feminists who've probably been treated very badly by men, and it gives them power and it gives them dignity, they think, to, you know, sort of stand up for these strong principles. But it comes at a cost. It comes at a cost to the guys that aren't assholes.
Exactly.
You know, that live their lives respecting and sometimes just being men. Men and women can both be dickheads. There's no
absolutely
exactly.
And men and women can both be assholes. Men and women can both be sociopaths. Men and women can both be victims of domestic violence, and men and women can both be really empathetic people. Like, we can't blanket statement everything.
No, and that's the thing. Like, some people, you'll say stuff like that, and then some people come back with statistics saying, "Oh, women are more likely for this to happen to them." Absolutely, I'm not disputing that, but that's not dealing with the problem. We've got to deal with the underlying problem as to why that percentage of men thinks it's okay to do this, and why this percentage of men. And it stems so far back: their childhood, their economic, you know, situation, however many other factors play into this. Genetics. You can literally be born with the propensity to be more violent, you know, nature versus nurture and all this. You can go on for hours as to why somebody does something, but it's simpler to just put people in a box and say 30% of men are more likely to do this. Okay, why? Nobody seems to talk about that. They just want the numbers. They want the sound bites. They want to be able to say, well, I believe this because I'm 17% more likely to be touched up on the bus. Okay, why does that occur? You know, it's all that sort of like covering up a gunshot wound with a plaster. It's not. You're doing something, but not enough.
Yeah, there's it's a big thing that we're not going to be able to fix in an hour, but no. We will try. But I'm going to try and wrap it up right now, because you said you wanted to keep this to about an hour. So we've been going for about an hour. So I'm going to wrap it up. Is there anything that you want to plug or talk about?
Well, I do have a very important interview tomorrow, which I wasn't going to mention just in case we have to change the times or something, but look out for that, because I'll get it sort of edited and out quickly. I'm not brave enough to actually go live, like a StreamYard version of it. I'm going
to neither am I, to be honest with you.
Well, I don't know if you saw my interview with Alex O'Connor, skeptic, but I used Skype because I sort of know Skype, and it's awful. And as you probably saw from the footage, it was just awful. So I'm going to attempt to use something a little bit more, you know, technical. So I don't want to sort of promise that everything's going to be okay. So I'll give it a try. So I'm not going to tell you who it is, but he's a biggie, and he's lovely, and hopefully he'll be as lovely as Alex was. So I managed to corner Alex on a train, and that's how I got him on the channel.
I was so jealous of that. I'm like, God damn it. There's like 4 or 5 Australian YouTubers that are atheists, and Australia is massive. So this is like zero chance.
Well, that's zero. Just ask him. Just become a patron and just send him a message.
I will.
Yeah, I think with uni and stuff, he'll have to be on a break, I think, because he's a busy dude. But yeah, I think no, he's lovely, and I think like I teased him a little because I said there's a distinct lack of boobs on your channel. Everybody you've interviewed or has been interviewed by you is mostly men. So I was like, my egalitarianism just went straight out the window. Because I'm a lady. No, but I'm a lady. Hopefully my charm was just enough to convince
Evidently. Yes, you're very sharp. Glamorous, darling, glamorous.
Well, okay. Back from the school run, you know.
Yeah. So you've got Patreon as well, I'm assuming.
Oh, yes. So find me on Twitter, Topic Thunder 1. I have a Patreon, Topic Thunder, all smushed one word together. Otherwise, you'll get somebody else, and I want your patronage. Yeah, and then of course Topic Thunder on YouTube, not Tropic Thunder. But hopefully, when you come, you'll appreciate my work, and I'm getting better. I think each video.
You are absolutely smashing it. You are criminally undersubbed, to be honest with you.
I'm a terrible sort of promoter. I really am.
So I definitely go check her out. Go hop on Twitter. Go check out her channel. She is freaking amazing. And yeah, so definitely need to go. There you go. I've just copied and pasted your link earlier. The link that I put in the description as of right now is incorrect. So I will go and have to, I'm going to have to do that. For me, well, you all know me, I hope. My name's Meredith. I'm from Nevada. I also have a Patreon, which you will find in the description below, hopefully. And you can also find me on Twitter at Nevada. And I just want to say thank you very much for arriving. And don't forget, don't give yourself the raw prawn. Do you have an outro line?
Well, not one that's going to be as good as that. Jesus. Okay. Oh, I can't say stay skeptical because that's GM Skeptics. I'm going to have to think of one. Maybe people can think of one for me in the chat, and then I'll see. Yeah.
All right. Till next time. All right. Have a lovely afternoon, day, evening, night, everyone. All right. See ya. Bye.